As he entered, a hush fell over the room. His classmates stared at him with a mixture of disgust and pity. David's heart began to race. What was going on? David stood in his bedroom, his face contorted in anger, his hands clenched into tight fists. The events of the day played over and over in his mind like a cruel joke. He had been expelled from school, humiliated, and betrayed by the one person he had considered his best and most trusted friend. David let out a bitter chuckle. "So this is how it ends," he muttered under his breath. He had worked hard, played by the rules, and still he had been thrown away like trash. And for what? A lie so ridiculous that he couldn't believe the teachers and the principal had fallen for it so easily. He stopped pacing and ran a hand through his neatly trimmed hair. His anger wasn't just because of the expulsion. No, it was deeper than that. It was the betrayal. Peter had been the one who encouraged him to take advantage of his situation, to get close to the teachers, and when things started working out, Peter had stabbed him in the back, feeding lies to the principal that made him look like some kind of criminal. David's jaw tightened. He wasn't going to let this go. Just then, a knock sounded on his door. He froze, his heart pounding. He already knew who it was. His mother. The one person who had been left in the dark about everything. "David." Her voice was firm, yet filled with concern. "Open this door right now." Taking a deep breath, David walked over and unlocked the door. His mother, a tall woman with a commanding presence, stepped in and immediately folded her arms across her chest. The look in her eyes told him she had already heard everything. "David, what is this nonsense I'm hearing?" she demanded. "Expelled? You? What happened?" David swallowed hard. He had no reason to lie to her, but he wasn't sure how she would take the truth. He sat on the edge of his bed and lowered his head. "It's Peter," he said, his voice laced with bitterness. "He betrayed me." His mother frowned. "Betrayed you how?" Taking a deep breath, David told her everything. From the moment the teachers started treating him differently because of his looks, to how Peter had advised him to use the situation to his advantage. He explained how he had gotten close to Miss Mary, how he had been receiving extra lessons from her, and how Peter, out of jealousy, had lied to the principal and exaggerated everything. His mother listened silently, her expression unreadable. When he finished, she exhaled sharply and shook her head. "David, do you realize how foolish this was?" she asked. "You should have known better than to mix yourself up in such things. But still, this punishment is too harsh. You are not the only student to have a good relationship with a teacher. Expelling you over rumors?" She scoffed. "No, I won't accept this." David's eyes widened slightly. "So, what are you going to do?" She straightened her posture. "First thing tomorrow, I will enroll you in another school. You will not sit at home wasting your future over this nonsense." David sighed, nodding. He knew his mother would fix things. She always did. But even as she spoke, another thought burned in his mind. Peter, David clenched his fists. He wasn't just going to walk away from this. Peter had ruined his life, his reputation. He had made him look like a fool in front of the whole school. And now, Peter would be sitting in that classroom, proud of himself, while David had to start all over again in a new school. No, David wasn't going to let that happen. His mother reached out and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You will be fine, David," she said. "Don't let this make you bitter. Sometimes life is unfair, but we rise above it." David nodded, forcing a small smile. "I understand, Mum." But in his heart, he had already made up his mind. Peter was going to pay. David stepped through the gates of his new school, his uniform freshly ironed, his posture relaxed yet confident. He had expected to feel out of place, to be just another student starting over after an unfortunate expulsion. But the moment he walked in, all eyes turned to him. Students whispered among themselves, nudging each other as they stared. Some of the girls giggled shyly, while others boldly made eye contact with him, their faces lighting up with interest. Even the male students, though some looked indifferent, had a certain curiosity in their eyes. David smirked. He had been through this before. By the time he got to his assigned classroom, his reputation had already begun spreading like wildfire. As soon as he entered, the entire room fell silent. The girls at the back exchanged glances, their expressions filled with excitement. A few boys gave him assessing looks, and then, as though nothing had happened, the class resumed their normal activities. David walked to an empty seat, sliding into it effortlessly. He could feel the stares. A girl beside him whispered, "Are you new here?" He turned to her with a small smile. She was pretty, dark-skinned with bright eyes and full lips. He noticed how she tucked her braids behind her ear nervously. "Yes, I am," he said smoothly. "David." "I'm Sandra," she said, extending a hand. David took it, holding her gaze a little longer than necessary. He already saw the way she blushed, how she tried to suppress a smile. This was going to be easy. By the end of the first day, David had already made an impression. The senior girls whispered about him, the junior students admired him, and even the female teachers seemed unable to hide their appreciation. At lunch, he walked to the cafeteria, and the moment he stepped in, a hush fell over the students. Girls sat straighter, adjusting their skirts, while some openly stared at him. A group of senior girls who sat at the best table started whispering amongst themselves. One of them, a tall, light-skinned girl with bold red lipstick, stood up and sauntered toward him. She had confidence in her steps, like someone used to getting whatever she wanted. "David, right?" she said, her voice dripping with charm. He raised an eyebrow. "That's me." "I'm Cynthia," she smiled, her fingers tracing invisible patterns on her thigh. "I hear you're new here." David smirked. "And I hear you already know my name." Cynthia laughed, flipping her hair. "Of course, everyone's talking about you." She leaned in slightly. "I like you. I think you should sit with me." David glanced behind her at the other girls she sat with. They were all looking at him expectantly, as if waiting for his response. He nodded. Why not? From that day on, David was no longer just a student. He was a sensation. Everywhere he went, girls wanted to talk to him. Some shyly slipped notes into his hands. Others were bold enough to flirt openly. At first, David enjoyed the attention without doing much. But soon, he realized just how much power he had. He started playing along, flirting with the girls, charming them, giving each of them just enough attention to keep them wanting more. He never officially claimed any of them as his girlfriend, but that didn't stop them from competing for him. Cynthia, being the most popular girl in school, assumed she had won his heart. She stuck close to him, making it clear that he belonged to her. But that didn't stop other girls from trying. One afternoon, after school, Sandra pulled him aside. "I don't get it," she said, folding her arms. "You've been leading me on, David. What's going on between you and Cynthia?" David chuckled, resting his back against the school wall. "Sandra, you know I like you. Then why are you always with her?" David leaned in, lowering his voice. "Do you want me to be with her?" Sandra's breath hitched. She looked around as if checking if anyone was watching. "No," she whispered. David smiled. "Then don't worry about it." It was the same with the others. He knew what to say, how to make them feel special without committing to any of them. He was having fun, and for once he felt like he was truly in control. But it wasn't just the students. The female teachers, too, had taken notice. During one of his literature classes, his teacher, Miss Joy, called him to her desk after class. "David," she said, giving him a soft smile. "You're very intelligent, you know that?" David nodded modestly. "Thank you, Ma. I've seen how the girls act around you," she said, her tone playful. "You must be enjoying the attention." David smirked. "A little." Miss Joy chuckled. "Be careful," she said, leaning slightly toward him. "A boy like you can easily break hearts." David tilted his head. "I'll keep that in mind." From then on, the interactions between him and Miss Joy became more interesting. She started paying more attention to him in class, calling on him more often, smiling at him in ways that felt different. But it wasn't just her. Miss Rose, the economics teacher, also seemed to favour him. She always asked him to help carry her books after class, sometimes letting her hands linger too long on his. David felt like he was on top of the world. He had gone from being humiliated and expelled in his last school to becoming the centre of attention in his new one. He was untouchable, admired, and wanted. And yet, despite all of this, one thought never left his mind. Peter. No matter how many girls fought for his attention, no matter how much praise he got from the teachers, he still hadn't forgotten what Peter did to him. Peter thought he had won. But David wasn't done yet. David stood in front of his bedroom mirror, adjusting the collar of his neatly pressed uniform. The reflection staring back at him wasn't just a handsome young man. It was someone who had turned his humiliation into power. With a smirk, he grabbed his phone, tapped open TikTok and scrolled through his notifications. His follower count had been skyrocketing ever since he started posting about his new life. Videos of him walking confidently through the school halls, surrounded by girls. Clips of him at lunch, laughing while Cynthia and Sandra bickered over who got to sit beside him. Snippets of his teachers smiling at him during lessons, their admiration barely concealed. Every post got thousands of views. Every comment section was filled with girls swooning over him, boys envying him, and people begging to know his secret. And that was exactly what he wanted. He clicked on the Create button, angling the camera so that the light hit his face perfectly. Then, with a mischievous smile, he started recording. Sometimes betrayal is the best thing that can happen to you. It pushes you to level up, to become something greater. So, to my enemies watching, thank you. I wouldn't be here without you. He ended the video with a wink and a smirk before hitting post. Within minutes, the video began gaining traction. Comments flooded in. Ormo, this guy too fresh a bedge. Teach me how to be like you, boss. Elamau, I wonder who he's shading. Whoever betrayed you must be crying right now. David leaned back against his bed, satisfied. He knew Peter would see it. And he was right. On the other side of town, Peter sat in his room, scrolling aimlessly through his phone. Ever since David got expelled, he had felt uneasy. He told himself that exposing David was the right thing to do, that it was justice. But deep down, he knew he had acted out of jealousy. Now, as he scrolled through TikTok, he froze when he saw David's latest video. The caption read, "When they think they've destroyed you, but you come back even better." Peter's stomach twisted. He watched as David smirked at the camera, delivering his message with effortless confidence. The comment section was filled with people hyping him up, admiring his transformation, girls gushing over his looks, boys wanting to be like him. Peter clenched his jaw. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. David was supposed to suffer for what he did. He was supposed to regret getting close to those teachers. Instead, he was living his best life. And, worst of all, Peter could see how much people admired him now. For the first time, he felt ashamed of what he had done. He had betrayed his best friend, pushed him out of school, only for David to become even more successful. And now everyone was laughing at his expense. Peter threw his phone on the bed and buried his face in his hands. This wasn't over. David sat at his desk, his phone in his hand, scrolling through the endless comments and messages he received daily. His social media presence had grown beyond what he ever expected. People admired him, envied him, and wanted to be like him. He had become more than just a handsome boy. He was now an influencer. But despite all the fame, deep down, something still didn't feel right. No matter how many followers he gained, there was still one thing that kept bothering him. Their friendship had been strong once. They had shared secrets, laughed together, and supported each other. But Peter had ruined all that with his betrayal. David had moved on, but the story of his past still lingered. People always asked what had really happened at his old school. Some rumors said he had seduced the teachers. Others claimed he had bribed them for good grades. The lies were too many and he was tired of it. He decided it was time to set the record straight. He opened his camera, adjusted the angle, and started recording. People have been asking what really happened to me in my old school. Today, I'm going to tell you the truth. He took a deep breath before continuing. So-called best friend Peter betrayed me. He told the principal that I was having inappropriate relationships with female teachers, and that's why I got expelled. But what you don't know is that it was Peter's idea in the first place. He was the one who advised me to get close to the teachers. He told me to use it to my advantage, and I listened. David paused for a moment, staring directly into the camera. But I never had any inappropriate relationship with any teacher. I was just having extra lessons with Corporal Mary, that's all. The teachers admired me, yes, but I never crossed the line. And Peter knew that. He just got jealous because I started doing better than him in school. Instead of talking to me about it, he decided to destroy me. David leaned forward, his voice firm. So Peter, if you're watching this, I dare you to defend yourself. Tell the world that I'm lying. Let's see if you can handle the truth. With that, he ended the video and hit post. Now, all he had to do was wait. Peter was lying on his bed, scrolling through his phone when the notification popped up. David just posted a new video. Curious, he clicked on it. As he watched, his heart started racing. By the time the video ended, Peter felt like the walls of his room were closing in on him. David had told the truth, and now everyone knew. The comments under the post were brutal. Peter, is this true? Oh, you really betrayed your guy? This is messed up, bro. Peter, speak up if you're not a coward. Peter felt a deep shame wash over him. David had not only exposed him, but had dared him to respond. And what could he say? Everything David said was true. He had let his jealousy ruin their friendship. He had let his insecurities push him into doing something terrible. Now, everyone knew what he had done. Peter swallowed hard. He had to fix this. He took his phone and started typing. David, I watched your video and I have to admit you're right. I was the one who told you to get close to the teachers. I got jealous when you started getting more attention than me. I felt like you were taking my place, and instead of being a real friend, I betrayed you. I'm truly sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I needed to say the truth. He posted the comment and immediately felt a little lighter. Minutes later, David replied, I appreciate you admitting the truth, Peter. Betrayal hurts, but I won't hold it against you forever. Maybe one day we can fix what we lost. For the first time in a long while, Peter smiled. Maybe their friendship wasn't completely lost after all.